Hit you with another one of them old phenomenal shits.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Undrlvld. My name is Chris. I appreciate you all being here and for the continued support. Just want to quickly remind all of you that our 500 subscriber giveaway is going on right now. So if you check the description down below or the pinned comment, you'll find a link to Gleam. You go to Gleam, you do the stuff, you get the entries. And in like a week or two or whatever, we're going to be giving out Steam keys for, Warhammer Vermintide 2, Outward, and Civilization. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to continue supporting the channel and this mediocre content I give you all. Also, thank you for the support the Tal'Dorei Reborn videos have been getting, and for the one Monsters of the Multiverse, rules expansion gift set video thing that I did. Really appreciate the support, and if there's anything you'd like to see me cover from Tal'Dorei Reborn or Monsters of the Multiverse, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and I will get it done. So originally, I was going to do a video on the vestige of divergence known as the Spire of Conflux. Its current wielder, the voice of the Tempest Keyleth of Vox Machina, and how she could play a role in Campaign 3 of Critical Role, or perhaps Exandria Unlimited Season 2, if that becomes a thing. More specifically, how she will possibly influence Fern Calloway. However, I sent out a community comment today asking if there was anything specific any of you lovely people wanted to see, and Cait Sith mentioned the Oath of the Open Sea Paladin subclass. Then I actually realized, despite a version of it being on D&D Beyond for a while, I never actually took the time to look at it. So the Keyleth and Fern video will be coming out tomorrow, and then I will proceed to go over the stat blocks of all of Vox Machina next week. So as far as the flavor text of the subclass goes, it seems the D&D Beyond version and the Tal'Dorei Reborn versions are essentially the same, just the Tal'Dorei Reborn version is written a little differently, but generally speaking, it's basically the same thing. I love that this is basically a pirate version of a paladin. An Oath of the Open Sea Paladin embraces the beauty and adventurous spirit of the sea, but at the same time respects its duty to protect and bring justice to those wronged. The same can be said of the tenets of the Open Sea, basically the exact same as the D&D Beyond version, just written a little differently. The tenets of the Open Sea are as follows. No greater life than a life lived free. One should be free to chart their own path without oppression. Those who would exert their power to dominate others shall be smote. Trust the skies, the guidance of a strong breeze, the rumbling warning of a coming storm. Nature is a source of important and counsel that should be heeded. Adapt like the water. The waters of the ocean can shift around any obstacle or become the most impassable obstacle of all. They carve away the land to reveal the secrets of the past or swallow the truth and hide it forever. To embrace this fluidity, it is to be ready for any challenge. Explore the uncharted. The world is filled with mystery. Through the pursuit of enigmatic ends, once can uncover those who hide their fell deeds, and find the path to becoming something great. I feel like I may have mistyped some of these things. So yeah, like I said earlier, Pirate Paladin. I love the flavor of this, and it'd be interesting to see what people would come up with for a backstory if the campaign you play in doesn't really involve, the ocean or the water that much. And I want to apologize if I say some weird stuff, like I don't have a lot of time to type up these little scripts and to keep going to make sure, everything is perfect. I have a lot to do today, so there might be some more mistakes than usual. I apologize, but All the information will also be on the screen in case you want to check it out. And then you can tell me in the comments down below, messed up this word, you messed up that word, and I'll take that into consideration the next time I type up a script. Oath spells are as follows. 3rd level, you get Create or Destroy Water and Expeditious Retreat. 5th level, you get Augury? Augury? How do you pronounce that? English is hard for me. And Misty Step. 9th level, you get Call Lightning and a new spell called Freedom of the Waves. 13th level, you get Control Water and Freedom of Movement. And finally, at 17th level, you get Commune with Nature and Freedom of the Winds, yet another new spell. Very curious to take a look at those 2 new spells, but I think the spell list fits in well with this subclass. Granted, 90% of the time, your spells are going to be, your spell slots are going to be going to Smite, but still useful stuff to have. Due to the new spells, you do lose access to Tidal Wave and Maelstrom, 2 very useful spells, so hopefully the new ones will make up for the loss of those spells. And level 3, you get your 2 channel divinity options. The first is called Marine Lair. You gain a cloud of fog that is centered upon you and goes out 20 feet in all directions. This area is considered heavily obscured. Every creature within 5 feet of you treats the area as lightly obscured. Lasts 10 minutes, it spreads around corners, and can only be dispersed if you choose to end it. And ending it does not require an action. This is basically the same thing as the D&D Beyond version, except this one provides additional information like how the cloud goes around corners. Fury of the Tides is the next channel divinity option. Bonus action lasts for a minute. Once a turn, when you hit an enemy with a weapon attack, you push the target 10 feet away. If it hits anything in the process, it takes bludgeoning damage equal to your charisma modifier. I'm really digging this. Mix this with your Smite for extra flavor and extra fun. I'd love to use this to knock an enemy off a cliff or something while smiting it. Really fun. Same as the D&D Beyond version. Not sure how I feel about the push not requiring a saving throw. I know a lot of DMs that are not going to like that at all. Next up, at level 7, we have Aura of Liberation. While you're not incapacitated, you and creatures of your choice within 10 feet can't be grappled or restrained, and ignore penalties on movements and attacks while underwater. Creatures that are already grappled or restrained when they enter the aura use 5 feet of movement to escape unless they are bound by magical restraints. I still love how, like, when you're typing something, everything looks perfect. But then when you go back and read it, you're like, oh man, I really messed up on some of this stuff. So pretty much the same as the D&D Beyond version, this is the only ability so far where you'd be at a disadvantage for being in a campaign that doesn't have much to do with the ocean or water. I understand this is the Oath of the Open Sea, but perhaps something that thematically fits but doesn't rely on water. That is kind of a hindrance, that this aura is basically, unless I misread it, is basically useless if you're like not underwater. You know, maybe a DM might be nice and be like, yo, you don't have to be in water, or maybe you can like use it in the rain or in like heavy fog or dew or whatever, but still a little unfortunate. Level 15 gives us Stormy Waters. Use a reaction when a creature moves in or out of reach. They take 1d12 bludgeoning damage and must succeed a strength saving throw against their spell save DC or be knocked prone. Again, the same as the D&D Beyond version. Everything seems good here. Not sure if you'd want to use it if an enemy moves out of reach, unless you were, for whatever reason, disarmed or whatnot. Because I'm assuming, you could use a reaction, hit, smite. Hopefully by then you have like a magic sword that does certain things. So maybe use this when they move into range. But then again, you would miss out on being able to use your reaction to hit them if they go out of range. with your weapon. But I mean, I don't know. I'm a little like, it's all right. It's all right. I just think, you know, maybe it could have been something a little more interesting. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's all right. I just, you know, I mean, it's just like you're a paladin, you know, like especially if you multi-class into something to get more spell slots. Like you're gonna be wanting to use smite as much as you can. So I mean, again, unless you're disarmed, I don't really see why you would use this, because even if they move within to range to you and you use it, you lose your reaction to do other things. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. But finally at level 20, we have Mythic Swashbuckler. Use an action to get the following benefits for 1 minute. Advantage on athletic checks. Get a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. If you already have a climbing speed, it is doubled. While within 5 feet of a creature, and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you, you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature. You can take the dash and disengage action as a bonus action. You have advantage on dexterity checks and dexterity saving throws against effects you can see, and you can only use this once a long rest. Alright, so this is a lot to unpack. Let's start with the D&D Beyond comparison. I believe this is the only subclass feature that got some buffs from the D&D Beyond version. So first of all, in both versions you get advantage on athletic checks. However, in the D&D Beyond version, you get to climb without expending more movement to do it. However, in the Tal'Dorei Reborn version, it doubles your climbing speed if you already have it. And it gives you the, you know, your climbing speed. Obviously not a buff that's going to apply to everyone, but it's still a buff nonetheless. Second benefit is the same as the D&D Beyond version, but oh boy, do I know a lot of people that aren't gonna like this. It's a little similar to the, what is it, the Rakish Audacity Swashbuckler Rogue subclass ability. Yes, it only gives you advantage and doesn't, you know, give you anything like a sneak attack, but I don't really, I mean, I don't have an issue with it personally, but I know a lot of people that really don't like when these homebrew subclasses or classes kind of cherry pick from other classes, because, you know, kind of takes away from the uniqueness of that subclass. Again, I don't really have an issue with it, but I know a lot of people that will. The third benefit also gets a little buff. So you lose the D&D Beyond version's ability to use the dodge action as a bonus action, but you gain the ability to take the dash or disengage action as a bonus action. Now, in a West Marches campaign I was in, I got a magic item that allowed me to use the dodge action as a bonus action. So I can say from experience how insanely useful and powerful that ability is. I don't blame Matt for taking that ability away. However, I would still consider the Tal'Dorei Reborn version to be a buff, since now you have a choice between dash and disengage. Although I know some people won't like this because it is basically a slightly less useful version of the rogue's cunning action. The final benefit I'm fine with. The bottom line of this subclass feature is that I can completely understand people not liking it, since this is basically, you know, roguelite. However, I'd argue that very rarely is anyone going to even reach this in a campaign. So I don't really see it as like that much of an issue, and that the entire subclass was built around the theme of Pirate Paladin, so I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't personally have an issue with this ability if someone wanted to play it at my table. But then again, I doubt I'd ever let anyone reach level 20. But let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Would you allow it? Would you change it? Let me know. So finally, let us go over the 2 new spells. Sadly, I think the only 2 new spells in the book. These are obviously Oath of the Open Sea spells, but they can also be learned by druids, rangers, and sorcerers. First up, we have the level 3 conjuration spell called Freedom of the Waves. Costs an action, has a range of 120 feet, and you need all the components to cast it, and the duration is instantaneous. You conjure a 15-foot radius, 10-foot tall cylinder of water. It takes the form of a tidal wave, a whirlpool, a water spout, or any other form of your choice. Creatures in the area must succeed a strength saving throw or take 2d8 bludgeoning damage and fall prone. You can also choose a number of creatures equal to your spellcasting modifier to automatically succeed the saving throw. If you are within the spell's area as part of the action, you can teleport to another space you see within the area. The spell is similar to the tidal wave spell, just has a few extra bells and whistles. One major difference, though, is the enemy still takes damage even if they succeed the saving throw of tidal wave, but not in freedom of the waves. But perhaps the ability to teleport in the spell's area is there to kind of make up for that. Regardless, it seems like a pretty fun spell to use. Finally, our last spell is Freedom of the Winds. This is a 5th level abjuration spell, costs an action to use on yourself, and requires all the components and is a concentration up to 10 minutes. Gain a flying speed of 60 feet, advantage on ability checks to avoid being grappled, and on saving throws against being restrained or paralyzed. If you're targeted by a spell or an attack, you can use your reaction to teleport up to 60 feet away. If this brings you out of range of the spell or attack, you're unaffected. However, this ends Freedom of the Winds. I know typically as a paladin, you don't get a lot of 5th level spells, so using this would come at a huge cost, especially to your smites. So that first part of gaining flight and advantage on stuff is kind of fine with me. That second part, however, I'm not sure how I feel about that. On one hand, using a reaction to teleport 60 feet away to avoid the effects of a spell or attack seem like a bit too much considering everything else the spell does for you. However, considering you get like 2 5th level spell slots, and using the little teleport feature ends the spell, I can see how for some that'd be enough to balance it. But again, I'm a little torn on how I feel about it. But what do you think? Would you allow this at your table? Would you change it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also want to remind everyone that our next video will be on Keyleth and Fern. Then I'll be doing a video on Vax'ildan and the whole Remnant cult stuff. Then, unless I get more requests for videos, I will wrap things up with a video covering the members of Vox Machina. This is, of course, assuming nothing comes up in tonight's little filler episode of Critical Role that would warrant another video. So, I mean, if something happened, I think it's like a battle royale or something like that that's happening on the 27th. So, if something comes up in that where I'm like, oh, that's a cool thing that I'm going to, draw information from Tal'Dorei Reborn and make another video. So, unless something like that happens, we got about 3 more videos until we wrap up our coverage of Tal'Dorei Reborn, and then maybe I'll do another video just giving a general review of it. But again, if there's anything you want to see in Tal'Dorei Reborn, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for being here and for the support, and I'll catch you in the next one.